this is Alicia here of Worth Mending, and I'm doing a darning loom tutorial today. So I'm just holding all of this stuff in my hands, and I'm just going to put it so that it doesn't fall. I'm going to be doing a tutorial using my Swift Darning Loom, and so I've got my loom, I've got a long needle for darning, I've got these two colors of yarn, which is what I want to use to make my patch. I've got my ever important Weft pick here, and of course I've got this trusty pair of socks that have holes in them, and I'm very excited that these are my socks. Usually I'm mending things for other people, so the fact that a really cool pair of socks that I have needs some mending is very, very exciting. Let's cut over to the tutorial. So starting off in the traditional way here with our stuff scattered absolutely all over the table, I'm going to start with the sock that has the hole worn all the way through. There's actually 2 holes, so we'll see how that goes. I'm going to put my work surface, the standard size here, inside of the sock. Check and see that it's in a good position. I want these hooks to be not too far away, but not too close to the start of that hole. I'm gonna shuffle it up just a little bit. Yes, perfect. So pop that on there, just making sure that this isn't too stretched out, and then attach the elastic band. Perfect. All right, so I have a green yarn and an orange yarn. I'm going to start with the green to put my warp threads in. Oh, come on. This is why I usually thread the needle off camera, isn't it? Just have a tiny ball. This is probably going to be too much, but honestly it's better to have too much than not enough thread, usually. I just hate having to weave in extra ends. Perfect. Alright, so I have to choose kind of which hook I want to use first, and I don't want to get too close to the hole, but that one looks like it goes a little excessive. I think I'm going to go with this hook here. So I start just down away from the hole, right about here, shall we say. Pull through all of this excessive yarn, and I'm leaving a tail that's going to be long enough to easily weave in later. So then I start hooking my warp threads around the hooks, looping my warp threads around the hooks, and it's sometimes a little tricky to decide how far apart to space everybody down here. I'm also aiming like far enough away from the damage to hit solid knit again. So I'm going to try kind of 1/2 of a knit stitch over. You have to just play with the spacing down here based on the weight of your yarn and the weight of the garment you're working with, the weight of the knit. If it's a woven textile, that is different as well. You just have to kind of eyeball it and see how many threads you want to fit in that space and how far apart they're going to have to be. It's not uncommon for me to need to take these out a couple of times to get that spacing right. Or maybe you're not as picky as me, and that's fine too. I think this is my last one. So I'm finished with green. I'm going to tuck this out of the way. If I was to do the whole patch in green, I would just pull up like this to start my weft threads. But I'm finished with green for now because I love weaving in ends. No, I don't. I hate it, but I love colors and like yarn dyed weaves. So I just can't help myself. I just love doing weaves in 2 colors. And I'm going to snip this, but I can't find my scissors, so we're just using the seam ripper to cut that right there. Okay, this is where the good stuff about the loom kicks in, and I'm sure if you've seen any of my other videos, you know what's up next. So we're going to pull this just to the corner of where our patch is. And again, I'm leaving a tail that's long enough to weave in. And I always start with my hooks facing the direction that my needle is moving, like this. Sometimes I like to also not use the pointy end, but the butt end, like this, so that I'm not splitting any of these threads as I move the needle through these loops. And it's really the same kind of game as down here when I'm trying to guess the spacing along the top. I always tend to err on the side of putting them closer together than I expect because I like to have a nice tight weave. I find that it just lasts longer that way. The mend will last longer that way before needing to be repaired. Especially on such a high stress part of a garment like the ball of the foot on a sock, which is what I'm doing right now. I love this really long needle for using my darning loom because I just can so easily slip through any size of patch that I'm doing because the needle is as long as the space that the hooks take up. And as I pass over that previous row, I just tend to squish it down with this little guy like this, and it really helps to keep that weave nice and tight. I also have this, which is my Weft pick, and it does a very similar thing. I find it just does it a little bit better. It really squish those wefts down and make them nice and tight. I got to handle, not quite use, but I got to handle a old Russian darning loom that's not a reproduction recently. A friend of mine in town, oh no, I missed the... Oh, do I go back for that? I can't tell. Oh goodness. Maybe I'll ignore it. Okay. Anyway, I got to handle an old darning loom, and it was so tiny and just so cute, and the hooks were so small, and just it was very different from mine. I designed this without ever seeing in person any of those original ones. It was just from pictures online and videos online, and yeah, and not ashamed to say that I really, really love mine even more after holding an original. I think we did a really great job of reproducing it, and our hooks flip so much more smoothly side to side, and that's just such an important part of the like tactile experience of this. So I was really happy to see that, and that we you know, managed to crack that and create these that are just so beautiful and so nice to use. As I get close to the top here, it gets a little bit trickier to get more of these rows in. However, I'm just gonna throw it back to my weft pick again and just keep pulling these down, because again, I really love to have a nice tight weave. Totally acceptable to just end at that last row, but I think I want to get at least one more in. We'll see about two, but at least one more in. Also depends on the length of my string here. I think we'll have enough. This will be my last. This will definitely be my last row, and then I will show you about binding off. Come on. Okay, perfect. Hi. So I've got some great news. I finished this sock. I got some bad news that I don't know what happened, but I had some camera trouble when I was binding off at the top on this patch. So I'm gonna have to re-record that when I mend the other sock. Fortunately, I didn't whip through and fix them both before checking my video footage. But I did finish this patch, which I did as a little bonus video for patrons. So I'm gonna be super cheesy and say check out my Patreon to see the full content for that. But this video is getting a tad long anyway, so I'll just have to do a bind off only video for next time, and you'll catch that at the same channel. This is Worth Mending on YouTube, and I appreciate that you're watching this, especially that you came all the way to the end. So many YouTubers have like a special secret for anyone who came and watched all the way to the end. I'm not ready with one right now, but maybe in the future I will have something special at the end of my videos for you. Thanks for being here. Like, subscribe, blah, 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 do the things. And I appreciate it and you. So thank you, and keep on mending. Hey, this is Alicia here from Swift